Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have from redveil, San Kofa. I think deep down I've had the lingering thought that redveil is young enough and closer to a cutting edge in hip-hop that he might actually pass me by, at least in terms of where he'll take his sound. I'm not sure when that feeling fully coalesced, especially as Learn to Swim and Playing with Fire were both great, but so much of that feature rock-solid melodic composition and foundations showing their linkage to Tyler the Creator or Quelle Chris, and the production's only gotten more challenging and off-kilter with time, where he could tap into sounds that might not resonate as sharply for me. That's a me thing, not on him. I really want to stress that. In short, I expected to like San Kofa a decent bit, but I was prepared for some of that experimentation to not fully work. As much as I like the playful verses from both him and Smino on Brown Sugar, one of the lead-off singles, that high synth hit a really hard frequency for me, especially as redveil was still producing all this album himself. And you know, much to my pleasant surprise, that only feels partially true. redveil's electricity as a talent might not feel as nimble as his last two projects, where I'm not sure I would put this above Learn to Swim, but he's certainly got the ambition to take it further. It's probably not fully accurate to correlate his move to Los Angeles as full evidence of some of the Tyler worship across this album, but between the entrance of slightly stranger jazz-inflected melodies, backed up by a lot more live arrangements behind his balance of rapping and singing, the latter of which leaks into some higher register flourishes and increasingly grand choirs, the former which I don't always love, and how he continues to push his sound and performance into more grandiose yet personal directions, it feels like a natural parallel. Where redveil feels different is the loose fluidity and organic exuberance, less studious and cantankerous Pharrell worship, more willing to skirt playing the game and wind his own path towards success, even if he feels increasingly anxious about that attention and implication, with mixes that can feel a little suffocatingly blown out for the trouble, like how the kick drum sounds like it's straining against the mix on Lone Star and on Mini-Me. And redveil already gets a lot of attention for just how young he is to do so much of all this himself, which is why his poise and maturity has always really impressed me, especially for as much as he wants to do things his own way and thus far has done so. So the titular concept of San Kofa takes shape from his adage roots in Ghana of it's not taboo to go back for what you've forgotten. Not just the process of memory or nostalgia, but the act of returning, where redveil has described his production as more of a love letter to his inner child who could dream this big, and that's sharply juxtaposed with the increasingly adult realities that almost always demand forward progress and momentum in a very specific direction. Attention from all across the gauzy, horn-inflected R&B of Mini-Me and the self-conscious yet playfully balanced questions of Savve. Now that conflict basically means rosy-eyed nostalgia, it's kind of impossible. So there's an anxious complexity across a lot of this album. For as much as he deserves to brag, he's acutely aware of how precarious it all seems to be, how the music industry eats kids like him alive, often by crushing their wills against the system. So damn right he's equipped and allowing himself to brag better, but he also can't overlook systemic inequalities. The second verse on the excellent horn-inflected History, where I could swear he's rocking a few vocal lines from Anderson .Paak, and an absolutely excellent verse exploring how a Caribbean homecoming for him can be treated like an ignorant vacation for someone else. It's a stark image of how the structural inequalities feel more pronounced when there's no need to cover them with respectability, and it feels at least a little likely he was intending that as an intentional parallel to how some folks see black hip-hop culture. I also appreciated how across the live drums and increasingly claustrophobic orchestration on Or So I shows the messy turns of any homecoming to a higher power when there are inconsistencies in the story being sold, even if some of his own family might have bought in. Whereas his desire for freedom, that's stretched across his entire catalog, but here is specifically against surveillance of any kind, including that from fame. It feels more pronounced, his panicked, angry crescendo as the internal countdown runs through Pray For Me against the stuttering drums and the scratching. It is truly striking. But for as potent as redveil's journey is, what really grounds this project are the people he surrounds himself with that he never wants to leave behind, his mother on the gorgeously saturated crooning of Stay the Night, and an older brother who's struggling with schizophrenia on the closing 2 tracks, where Buzzer Beater, Black Christmas, it bounces from a flute and piano accented brittle trap knot that's actually really well mastered, to a fuzzy sleigh bell accented jazz rap, and Glimpse of You careens into touches of ragged psychedelia, where amidst his greatest commercial success stories, even if the connection can be fleeting on a good day, it's gonna mean the world. Now that closing arc through this album is enough to nudge it up to greatness for me. redveil is only growing as a more thoughtful and considered rapper, and while there are cuts here can feel a little bit abbreviated, might have used a stronger overall hook, or it's more indebted to his influences, I think he's only refining and expanding that formula, and quite frankly, he's got a grasp on melodic hooks and a playful flair that makes him a lot more enjoyable than many of those influences anyway. So yeah, this is gonna slip a lot of folks by because it's this late in the year and redveil still hasn't had that full-on smash through yet. I still think he's got a little bit more room to grow, but he's gone beyond learning to swim. He's found his stroke, he's racing against time, and the art is only showing more promise. Y'all should get on board. It's special. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, subscribe. Yeah, I'm very happy I can finally get around to this. Again, I'm really happy that redveil is continuing to be great. I still really love this, and again, I'm not sure it quite beats out Learn to Swim, but it is closer, and I definitely think there's a lot more pathos here than I actually really expected. I think he's really threading that line effectively. And when I speak about songs maybe feeling a bit abbreviated, it's not that he can't structure melodic hooks, it's that maybe he doesn't centralize them. They kind of come and go within verses that just careen into little hooks, little mini hooks themselves, and maybe a few more that are larger and more defined could be more effective. But hey, leave your comments down there below. Anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if y'all want to get albums on my schedule for next year, or, support the channel, yell at me on my Discord, potentially see some year-end list early, we'll have to see about that. Link to my Patreon and YouTube memberships is right over there. Once again, don't feel obligated. Tough times out there. Recession's coming. You all know the deal. But hey, options open. But until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.